Guys, so yes, today I wanted to talk with you about continuous integration, and like I've said to you this morning in the pitch, I believe there's room for improvement on what we do today on continuous integration. So I'm Louis Davin, I'm an IT consultant and mobile app developer at OCTO, and since I work at OCTO, I've been given the opportunity to go work for different clients. And almost every time when I went to a client, what I saw was Mac Mini in the open space, sometimes hidden under the desk, where a Jenkins was installed and was used to build the mobile apps. So before going deeper, I just want to take just a minute for just bootstrapping everyone. So if you're not a Jenkins expert or anything like this, I just want to talk of the basics. Why do we need CI on Android? And what is CI? Oh, well, that's too bad. What is continuous integration? It's actually the fact of having a server somewhere in the cloud or in-house, it doesn't matter, that is looking at your code repository, and every time something changes, it's going to do a lot of stuff. So the basic steps to do are to compile, to execute some static analysis, and to run all the tests that we have. So every time something changes in our code, this is the basic stuff that we should do. We're not going to do it manually. That would be crazy. So we have a computer do it for us. So yes, we need continuous integration just for those basic steps. What our CI should be able to do too is to generate some APKs, and since it should generate APKs, it should also be able to deploy it on private clouds, on private, stores, on even on the Play Store. And this CI server is also a great place to generate a lot of data with all the static analysis tools we have to watch and monitor our project. So what do we have today? And let's take a little step back on what I believe are the current practices of our developer community with continuous integration. I believe that today, most of the time, our Android servers are hosted in-house on Mac Minis or something else. And very often they were built by us, they were set up by us because we were actually on our own. And if we wanted a CI server, we had to do it ourselves. Why? Very quickly, because if you're in a startup, there's no one, no money, no resource, so you have to do it yourself. If you're in a big company, usually you're too exotic as a mobile developer, so the IT guys look at you and like, sorry dude, you're not running on Maven or I don't know, so you're on your own. And often in the middle, it's the gray area. So is that bad? Actually, it depends on your skills or your luck when you found the tutorial to install this Jenkins server. And why should we not be satisfied with the current setup that we have? First of all, when you buy a server to run Jenkins on it, the hardware is not going to move anymore. It's fixed. Whereas your project, your mobile app, is going to grow and grow and grow in complexity, and you're going to have to use new tools when it goes out, new kind of tests. One day you maybe will have to enable the multi-dex, which is very, very long stuff to run, etc., etc. So your build time will grow endlessly. Since most of us had to set up this server, did we really install it properly? How is it run on the OS? Can we access it from the internet, from the intranet? Are we supposed to? All this kind of stuff, file system preferences, etc. And most importantly, how do you deal with Jenkins updates and the OS updates? And just a little bonus point. Regarding this bullet point, I don't know if you've seen this, but actually 3 days ago on Friday, a huge security vulnerability was discovered on Jenkins. It allows, from what I understand, it allows anyone to access the command line interface of your Jenkins if it's exposed on the internet. So it's a pretty big flow, and if you're not really quick with doing your Jenkins updates, well, it can be very dangerous. And even if you had someone install your Jenkins for you, or if you installed it properly, you will still have a huge issue with the Android emulators. If we span an emulator for each of our builds, we're going to lose several minutes. So usually what we see on those local CI servers is that developers span an iOS simulator and a Genymotion, and they let it run endlessly. I think this is a problem on the Android perspective, because it means the version of Android you're going to run your test on is fixed and cannot change. It's also a problem when the Genymotion simulator decides to crash. Well, your build is broken until someone SSH or VNC to the server to reboot it. So the title of the slide is Let's think of the cloud for a second. Do you see anything in common with these tools? First of all, we almost use all of them on any other project, but they're run in the cloud. We use it. These are vital tools to us, but we do not want to have the hassle of maintaining it. Why not doing it for our Android CI server? And this is the question I asked myself. So I've built a little Android project. My intention was to have a state-of-the-art Android project, so it uses the last build tools, last Android SDK, etc. And I added some simple unit test, JVM test, and an instrument test. And I wanted to explore the cloud CI market with this project to see what I could or could not do. So I'm going to show you in a few slides a comparative evaluation of the solution I've seen. You will find more details on the blog post that I wrote in French and in English. And these are the solutions that I considered, that I found on Google. So we have Greenhouse CI, Travis CI, Circle CI, Snap CI, and CloudBees. And this is the result, actually. So I won't go through the whole table, but just on the little what the fuck cases. So for me, the biggest limitations are on these two lines. When we use Jenkins, we're used to being able of creating as many jobs as we want. So we want to create a CI job, we want to create a deployment job, we want to create whatever. And on those solutions, actually, you're not on a Jenkins, you're not on a Jenkins interface, and they only let you declare one job. So you actually cannot have a CI job and a deploy job, so you either do continuous deployment or you do not deploy. You cannot build an APK on your CI server, which is for me a very big limitation. And then there's another important line regarding the emulators you're able to boot on those platforms. In the overall, it's a mess, actually. On Greenhouse CI, you can only boot the latest Android emulator. You cannot configure it, you cannot choose the language, the screen size, nothing. On these actors, you can hack it with command lines, download the AVD you're looking for and launch it. It's a pain. And on CloudBees, you can actually do whatever you want, but you won't be able to boot an emulator that is Android KitKat or more recent. Let's look at the price of the solutions. So my little Android project is not relevant anymore to discuss the price. So let's imagine a big project of 140K lines of code. This is a real project I've been working on. It's huge, huge app. where we can say that a build takes 15 minutes and we run it 10 times per working day. This is the pricing plans I only looked at, and this is what we have. So something around $100 a month. My conclusion of this comparison is that actually CloudBees is the only actor that today looks serious enough to run your CI server. And the good news is that it's just Jenkins as a service. It's a solution that will host for you a Jenkins master instance. So when you want to run a build, it will wake up a virtual machine that is booted on purpose, and it will run your job on it. So the good news are that you already have the knowledge, because you're probably already using Jenkins, and you really have the jobs, the Jenkins jobs. So it will be really easy to migrate. On the same note, all the plugins that you use today are also available on CloudBees, so you're at home. It's not something new, it's something you're used to. And all these little ops on question challenges that we discussed on how we installed it, how we are limited by running an emulator, by running only one job at a time, all those limitations, they just disappear. So how difficult is it to run a CI job for an Android project on CloudBees? Actually, it's very simple. CloudBees is a technology agnostic. It's not a tool only for mobile developers, it's for everyone. So the first thing we have to do is to specify in our job that we are running, we want to run an Android job. So we just have to add an Android label to our job, and the job the virtual machine that will be instantiated will have an Android SDK installed on it. So it's just this line that you have to add. You can see that I've also added a high-speed label. This label allows me to tell CloudBees that I want a huge instance to be waken up. So the high-speed label equates to double the size of a large Amazon instance, or something like this, I believe. Second step, when we wake our instance up, before being able to build, we need to ensure that the Android SDK that's installed on that machine is up to date. For this, I recommend using the Android SDK Manager Gradle plugin by Jake Wharton. Very simple to use. On your parent build.gradle, you just have to add a build script dependency. Since it's a build script dependency, nothing will be in your app. It's just for your build script. And then in each of your Android modules, you just apply the Android SDK Manager before applying the Android Application Manager. What this does is, the next time you run a Gradle task, this SDK Manager plugin will intercede, will stop everything from going on. It will read at all the values you've defined in your build.gradle, and it will check if the local Android SDK installation has everything. If it does not, it's going to install it. And then the normal flow of the Gradle execution is resumed. So just a heads up, there's a bug. I don't know where, if it's in Gradle or in this Android plugin, but sometimes on certain computers, you'll see that the first time you run a Gradle command, it will update the SDK. The SDK is updated, but then Gradle thinks it has not been updated, so your build will fail. But the second time you do it, it works. So my solution for this little bug, nasty bug, is to add a build step on each new build before doing your real Gradle command, like your assemble, check, test, etc. You just add a shell command where you do a Gradle clean and you ignore the result. So with this command, your SDK is updated, and then you resume on the normal flow, and your real build is executed on the up-to-date Android SDK, no problem. So with those two simple steps, you're able to build your Android project on CloudBees. If your Jenkins server that you have on-premise today is old, you'll see a huge performance increase. On this project that was 140K lines of code, the build time was divided by 2 or 4, I don't remember, but it's like huge. It was taking 40 minutes. That was beginning to be very long, and on CloudBees it takes 5 to 10 minutes to build. So it's really, really nice. The second step is to boot an emulator. So spawning emulators on CloudBees is quite easy, actually. You have to use the Android emulator plugin that you maybe already have used. And then there are some specific rules about running emulators on CloudBees. First, you cannot use snapshots. You can only launch the RRM AVDs. You cannot rely on any acceleration, the Intel Axem or GPU. It won't work if you try to. And you have to add some special options, no audio and GPU off. And globally, the best way to use this Android emulator plugin on CloudBees or not is to just follow the Android Studio wizard where you want to create an AVD. Then you go check on the properties file that was written, and you look for the special configuration option is defined, and you define it on this Android emulator plugin, and you're good. There's a limit too that I've said already. You will not be able to boot Android 19 Plus emulators reliably. I'll go back on this later. So this is a sample working Android emulator configuration for Android 15 version, where I have added some specific hardware properties. As I've said, there are some special emulator options that you have to specify or it won't boot, and then you're good. As a bonus, on CloudBees, you can actually, so CloudBees gives you a Jenkins instance hosted on the cloud, but actually with just a button click and a few bucks that you pay more in addition per month, you have a Sonar instance that's also hosted as a service. So this is actually a great news, and you can easily have this kind of dashboard that you won't have to maintain, but just have to feed the data. This is a sample working Sonar runner configuration that I've had on one of my projects. I'm just defining the credentials to access the Sonar instance, and here you'll see that we have to redefine every path that we have in our Android project. If you don't specify this, the Sonar Runner plugin is lost actually. I don't know exactly why, but it appears the Android plugin just does not expose all the path variables, so the Sonar Runner doesn't know where it can find the sources and etc. Let's take a whirl back on emulators, since I've told you that you cannot boot an Android 19 emulator on CloudBees reliably. It's a serious drawback, because Android 19 is KitKat. It's starting to grow in popularity and in shares in the Android device market. And when I contacted the CloudBees support about this issue, actually they don't know what to do. I just think the AVD's images are being so big, fat, and slow that when we run them headless, they're just, well, they don't manage to boot on their system. So this is a big drawback, but is it really? A common best practice that we should all follow is to run our tests on the lowest version of Android that we support. Why? Because it's quite easy to just forget and use a recent method of the Android SDK. If you've used by just being quick a recent method of the Android SDK and you run your test on the lowest version of Android that you support, you're going to have a crash and you're going to realize it. Jelly Bean is still a third of the market. Android 15, I forgot the name, but it's still a huge, like 5 or 10%, I think, of the Android share. So I think most of you guys have to support at least Android 15 or 16. So for now, you're good to go. You can run on CloudBees and boot those emulators without any problem. I managed to boot those emulators in less than 80 seconds, so it's not that long. If you launch your Android project now, or if you've launched it recently, there are a lot of talks about new Android architectures, new way to architect our apps. I believe there's going to be a lot of those talks in the next day. If you use a MVP-like approach or a MVVM approach, you're going to decouple a lot the view, the controller, and your business logic, so you're going to be able to mainly write non-instrumented tests. So you're not going to, on our future project, we are not going to need Android emulators as bad as we needed them in the past. For existing projects, there are probably a lot of instrumented tests on your existing projects, but if you do not want to end up with a very old and has-been code base in the few months or in the few years, you should also start migrating your old application to those new architectures. And actually, some solutions are emerging to execute tests like in an as-a-service approach on emulators or on physical devices. The device farm from Amazon is already in production, and it works. It's a bit slow. It takes like 1 hour or 2 between the time where you send your IPK and the tests are run, but it works. It can also take screenshot and give it back to you if you do it in your tests. Google also has announced a huge thing, the Cloud Test Lab. So we don't really know if it will allow us to run to give us emulators as a service or just devices, or if it will only work on the Play Store. But it's those kind of solutions, I think, are really going to emerge and to gain in maturity, and should be the solutions that will avoid, that will help us when we need very recent emulators. So I'm done for now. My key messages are that if you're running an on-premise Android CI server at home in your business, you should really consider migrating it to the cloud. You may or may not have some installations problem, depending on the quality of the setup you did, but I think you will never be able to be as reactive as professional when it comes to security vulnerabilities. And what has happened 3 days ago is a really good example of, trusting the guys that know how to maintain a system, to just give them a few bucks per month and using it as a service. If you have any question,